Welcome back, Maximum Octane. This is your host, Kim Hickey. I'm super excited, as usual, for my guest today. And I keep saying, Jim, I am so excited always for my guests because I get to handpick them. So I always pick people I like and enjoy talking to. So joining me today is a friend and colleague, Mr. Jim Bennet. And I have a paper in front of me because this man has more certifications than anyone you've ever met in your entire life. I dare you to find somebody with more. And these are all practical use certifications. We all know those people that have 10,000 degrees and certifications, and it's stuff they don't ever use in their life. And Jim uses like all of these every day, which is crazy. So Mr. Jim Bennet, he's the owner and operator of CarMasters in Norfolk, Virginia. He is on the Virginia Automotive Association Board of Directors, the Hampton Roads NAPA BDG president. He's AM. He's a world-class technician. He has 31 current ASE certifications, including service consultant and collision estimator. He's also a certified executive coach. He's a Virginia State Police safety inspector with an unlimited license. And the list goes on. Jim has so many that we actually, for one of our company meetings, bought one of those scrolling LED name tags so that we can fit all of Jim's certifications. So I will have the complete list on the website if you click on it. And but if I keep going on them, we're going to spend half of the podcast talking about his certification. So in addition to all of that, he is the instructor for the technician apprentice program and also technician training for ATI. And he has written the entire curricula. It's incredible. And we're working with some pretty big companies, which I won't mention right now because they're so impressed with it. They are wanting it. But Jim does an amazing job with teaching people and making them really understand. And so I'm excited that you have time out and not busy getting a certification today. And Jim is here actually with me in Fajardo. We're in Fajardo, Puerto Rico for our big annual super conference with our members. And so this is probably one of the few times he's not out learning something or teaching something. So I'm grabbing you while you're here. So how are you?
Unbelievable, Kim. Doing great.
Unbelievable. So, one of the things that we have in our industry today is trying to find technicians. That's all anyone speaks about is you can't find techs, and service advisors. And then when you get a tech, some of them don't stay. And there's so many things going on. What do you think is the biggest reason for that? Because I know they're out there. I know there's amazing technicians out there.
Well, a lot of that is there's a stigma in automotive, that some of our parts changers, and we need to overcome that. And part of that is going right to the high schools, and there's some incredible young men and women. And there's a lot of women that should be looking to this industry. There's ones that have entered it already that are just incredibly successful, and there should be more considering it. But at the same token, one of the core things we do at ATI is personality profile testing. And I've personally seen some of our members in ATI in the training that were in my technician mentoring workshop that had two individuals that one of them was in an apprentice program and one of them wasn't. And the one in the apprentice program wasn't doing as well as the one that was not. And when we did the personality profile testing, the one that was doing better was the right personality fit to be a technician. The other one was the personality fit be in sales, like a service advisor or a collision estimator. So sometimes without knowing, we set people up for failure. And we owe our team, our employees better than that. So we at ATI, we have a solution for that. And part of that, a core, is that is starting out with personality profiles testing and setting expectations clearly.
That is absolutely true. We see that with all of the positions within the organizations. And so if you're not with ATI, because this can't be an ATI commercial for us, but it is really important that you do some kind of personality profile testing. And there's many of them online. There's free ones. The one we use is a little more extensive, and so we pay for it. But understanding the right people and getting the right people for the right job, because so many times we hire somebody and we think they're going to be a great service advisor because they have a bubbly personality, or we think they're going to be a great technician because they love taking apart their bicycle, or they tinkered with a car at home or something. And that's not the whole piece of it, right? That's not the whole piece of it. So training is something a lot we hear, and I think there's also a stigma to it. When somebody comes in the industry, if they're trying to get into it, we really don't do a good job with developing them and putting a career path together, and especially on the technician side. And they see movies and they get motivated to think they want to maybe work on cars and stuff because they watch like Fast and the Furious, or they see something, and that's not the real automotive industry, right? And so we bring people in that think they're going to be building this race cars all day long and doing these things, and then we're like, hey, you're going to change tires and sweep the floor for a year, and then we'll see what else. What do you say about that?
Well, some of us do race cars, but that's another story.
Some do.
That's a different podcast. But anyway, the one of the things that I learned, I did 22 years in the Navy. And part of that was with in the fleet on ships and auxiliary propulsion. Part of that was with naval special warfare, and I took two really valuable lessons out of that. When you made E5 and above, petty officer, they sent you to LMET school, which was leadership management education and training. No matter whether you were a cook or a mechanic, it didn't matter. Everybody, when they made a certain seniority, because they were going to be managing and leading people, they got leadership training. And the automotive industry, our technicians only get nuts, bolts, technical training, and then we put them in a leadership position when almost every college, I've done a lot of research and looked at incredible different surveys and studies, that at the most, leadership's only about 30% genetic or less. There again, that's still a high enough percentage where those personality profiles are important, but what that means is the majority is through training and experience. And unfortunately, they're getting set up for failure. And some of them, when they get put in a position they never been trained for to lead people, and it doesn't work, they leave the automotive industry. So we lose senior great people. And sometimes those same people, I know we've all heard shops say, never let that technician talk to the customer, the service writer, shop owner.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, that's the same one. You got to look at your whole team as internal customers. I learned that from Dennis Snow from the book Lessons from the Mouse and the ATI Book Club. That was incredible. But, so those of you that take advantage, read that book. It's a good book for team building.
I actually have, if you look through the library, I have a podcast with Dennis Snow talking about.
But what we need to do, though, is we need to have those testing done no matter what you do. We need to give our management, even our technician team leaders, leadership training, and it'll be a game changer. And as well as when these young individuals are coming, invite their parents, bring them into the shop. Every shop that is a successful shop is using lab scopes and extensive diagnostic, where you're an electrician, an electronics technician, and a network engineer with the multiple different speed networks that you're doing. And we're doing advanced driver assist and on the verge of autonomous vehicles in the shop with some of the pedestrian automatic braking, everything else we do with ADAS. So it's a very technical and it's a very rewarding career when done well, and when the passion's there and fully embraced. So some of the parents don't even support. In fact, some of the colleges, when I've been on a lot of different panels and boards, they are putting emphasis on college education, post-secondary, and not so much on the skilled trades.
Right. So
there's a lot less people that know about it or they're being directed to it, because there's a lot of VOTECs. Many of them are closed down, or where every school had their own. Now there's maybe one in a county. So we really need to embrace that, and we need to look for that for opportunity for some excellent young men and women to bring in industry.
We really have to start much earlier too. I know some of the shops I see, they do a great job going, their senior year over to the school for somebody's senior year. But by then, most people already sort of have an idea what they want to do. So if they didn't ever think about being a technician, that usually is not going to sway them, because their parents and everybody else have decided that they're going to do something else. And think that people today don't realize how bright and just articulate in all of the things that you need to be a technician, because you have to understand logic and processing and computers beyond whatever. It's just crazy. And so all of the people out there that just think about, technicians or grease monkeys or, mechanics, and they don't want their kid busting their butt all day physically, laying under a car all day. It's like no one's laying under a car. I mean, we have lifts. There's so many other things now and to do in the industry. And even as a technician, that the computer skills needed. I mean, holy cow. It's just crazy what's going on. I have some friends in the IT industry, and they're computer whizzes, and they can build any computer. And they're like, the stuff with the cars, they said, is so advanced and so beyond. They have degrees in IT and computer and all of that, and they cannot do anything with their vehicles, even when somebody tries to explain them, because they said it's so advanced. And it's a wonderful career for people to get into.
Well, when I was in the Navy, one of the things I did at Naval Station Training Center in Great Lakes, I was developed animated curriculum for remediation on computers. And then I taught a course how to do that. Then I was put in charge of the databases, and I was a database programmer. So I got into computer programming even as a mechanic. And that helped me to understand when we got into automotive, or I probably would have been lost too, because it's challenging, especially when you get into a vehicle security professional, which I also have a locksmith ID through National Automotive Service Task Force.
Of course.
But the thing is, as we get older technicians, instead of them losing their job and opportunity, that's when they can get into more module programming, more security programming, more key and transponder programming, ADAS calibration. There's so much opportunity. At the same token, right now, there's numerous lawsuits throughout the country where shops are doing traditional shock and strut changes and alignments and replacing tires and changing the circumference, going from bald to new. And manufacturers check, let's say they're supposed to calibrate ADAS, and they're not doing that. And it's making the car less safe. And there's actually laws against that. U.S. Code 4930122, for example.
Wow.
And there's so much opportunity for young and old using technology to make the vehicles safer for the people that drive them. And that's why we're in business.
Let's talk about a little bit. One of the things that I know for years we've been talking about, you're going to have to grow your own. We knew that this tech shortage was coming for, 20, 30 years ago, that this was starting the progression of it. And we didn't do anything about it, right? And we've been saying you have to mentor your own people. You have to find, people that want to get into the industry, want to learn. And when we have done that, it has not been successful a lot, because we take whoever our best tech is, and we're like, hey, shadow him or her and see, let them teach you. Well, your best tech on the floor and your certified A tech, that's the most productive, does not have time to be babysitting somebody and just sitting around and following. And most of the time they just leave them not doing anything because they don't have time, or they don't want to take the time, or they make them do really menial tasks because they don't know what else to do with them. And they don't, as you mentioned, have leadership training. They don't have instructor training. They don't have whatever. And many of them don't have the best dispositions to begin with, because they're very fast paced. They're under the car, and then we're like, hey, take this young person that we want to shape and grow, and don't do it. So why do you think that there's such a resistance in our industry to really train the trainers, to take your best tech, if that's who you want to be, but vet them and make sure, are you really someone that can become a mentor and an instructor, and give them the training? Why don't we train the trainer, Jim? That's, I guess, I could have said that much more simply.
I have done a presentation on this, and I kind of named it, Are You Too Busy to Help Yourself? Because we're short and people are too busy, and they keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We know what that is. So you're going to have, just like you mentioned racing, I do have raced in home stock cars that race at NASCAR home tracks in Hampton, Virginia. Sometimes, just like in Days of Thunder, you have to slow down to go fast. That is so true. If you're pushing too hard and overdriving, you're going to break stuff and not do well. And
want to hear a funny story about that movie?
Sure.
So I was driving home from that movie, and I love, me. I love cars. I love fast. I love blah, 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 motorcycles, but whatever. So I went to see that movie. I was like, oh my gosh, I was so just charged up. And I had a red Mazda RX-7, stick shift, of course. And I was coming home, and there was this really windy road, like to go to my house. And of course I was, just got out of Days of Thunder movie. I had Pirelli tires on the back. I was moving and shaking and going. I had my stereo blast, and I had the soundtrack in from Days of Thunder, and Guns N' Roses was blasting. And all of a sudden I heard this pop, and I thought my tire blew out. So I about had and I was like, oh my God. And I was all bracing it, like the steering wheel. And then I heard another pop, and I'm like, that's a second tire. And then a third pop and a fourth. And I was like, oh my, I didn't know what to do. And I thought, I'm going to go off the road. I'm going to die because I'm an idiot, because I think I'm, in Days of Thunder and Cold Trickle. Well, I had soda, a case of Pepsi in the back of in the hatch. And it was Arizona. It was 118 degrees. So while I was driving, the soda cans started popping from the heat. So, yeah. So I almost killed myself over a soda can and stupid thinking I could drive like Cold Trickle, right? Wasn't that his name in there? So don't do that, people. Don't do that.
And I'll tell you, it's a lot harder than it looks when you get on the track.
Oh, listen, I can't even imagine.
When you're doing well every lap.
I can't even imagine.
So anyway, on the technicians though, what has to happen, they need that leadership training. When they don't get that leadership training, and that old crusty tech, like you said, we have an AMI accredited mentoring workshop. Whether you go through ATI, find other leadership training, and include personality profile testing, because sometimes your mentors, if they understand their personality and the difference of the person they're working with, they're able to adjust. Now, some old crusty ones aren't. What you got is what you got.
And there's some young crusty ones too.
Exactly. Well, and just like we teach our service advisors to identify customers' different buying personalities, and so they can adjust whether they're a fleet or like performance or safety. We can go on. It's a whole class in itself, but we kind of need to do the same training with our technicians and our supervisors. And typically, a lot of the senior techs don't want to do that because it gets added on and doesn't get compensated, and it slows them down. It actually sometimes hurts their money. Part of what we teach is kind of like...
Or we force them to do it at night.
Right.
They want to be home with their family and they're tired.
We do this during the day, and it's kind of like a promotion because you're teaching them management and leadership. You're making them a technician mentor. We're thoroughly training them on the difference between an instructor, a mentor, a coach, and instructor, which there's clearly differences, in a leader. And we have them understand all, and we screen them to see if they're, in fact, a fit for that. But also we have where we try to elevate the whole team, where everybody gets a 5-year growth plan, and you update that every year. Even the apprentice, when they come in with our program, and everybody's program should have that, to where the mid and junior techs, they can be an assistant to the mentor that takes some of the load, doing some of the modeling and demonstrating. And then as the apprentice, when they graduate and get through their program, they can be assistant mentor, and sometimes assistants can move up, be the mentor, and you help elevate the whole team through their career. And everybody's on the same page that way, and they're working together as a team. You can do a lot more when you all row in the same direction at the same time.
I'll tell you, upset is probably not the right word, but I get so disappointed sometimes when we talk to people in our industry and about sending their technicians or their service advisors or shuttle drivers or whatever through leadership class or whatever. And they're like, they don't need that. They're just a this. They're just a that. There's no just a. Who doesn't want everyone in their organization to think and act like a leader? Like, I don't understand that mentality of, no, I don't want to put training into that person. They're just a whatever. Like, everybody, where is the downfall to every person in your company thinking and acting like a leader? Do you think, Jim, it's because most small business owners don't even go through enough leadership training and don't work on their leadership skills with intent, that they don't feel like it's important for their team?
I think a lot of it is they don't know what they don't know. So I don't think they don't know it's so much important. They don't think it's important. They just don't know how important it is. And some good coaching and training and leaders, that manage and help work with them every week can do that. I work primarily and coach the shop technician mentors and the senior technicians in the shop, where my other brothers and sisters at ATI are teaching and training mostly shop owners and some service advisors. But some of the shop owners are also the team leaders are still working in the bay. So I'm working with them as well. And I can remember telling one of them that you or your replacement will need some sales training. Well, why? I'm not working at the front counter. And I said, well, you've got a team of technicians, right? Well, yes. Every once in a while, you get some new equipment, new policy, new procedure, or new government law or rule, especially when we went through COVID. We know how that was. We don't even go there. But things come out, right? Changes. Well, yeah. I said, I've started a shop in 1998, 4 years before I retired from the Navy. And there's almost nothing is the same now that it was in 1998 because of technology and things and everything else, economy. Well, yeah. Well, who convinces them and gets buy-in from the team and sells the new procedures, the new tools to the team? And I got like the deer in the headlight look. I grew up in the country, so I know what that looks like. I literally get, and I'm on a Zoom with them or I'm face-to-face in a meeting with them, and you get literally the deer in the headlight look. Well, you have to be able to sell that to them. You have to get their buy-in. You have to establish the need, build value, and make them want to do it and believe in it. Isn't that kind of selling? Well, yeah, I guess. Well, yes, it is. So we all need, and plus, not to mention, if you do get some of that training, it helps you to appreciate and better understand what your service advisors and your sales staff have to do with the customer. Plus, as well as anytime you're doing an apprentice program, and there's multiple ones out there. The one that I was blessed with and given the opportunity to help establish at ATI, I was felt really blessed and honored that I was approved and selected. There was, I think, 10 of us every week for 3 months in 2001. And there was another probably 7 or 8 that cycled in and out. I sat the ASE NATAF accreditation panel for the automotive standards and helped rewrite and update all the accreditation standards that every college, trade school, and high school has to meet to gain or keep and maintain their accreditation for ASE NATAF automotive programs. And so needless to say, being on the panel and having a lot of input on the current standards, we include all those with our ATI training. We also include best practice from ATI that they've learned over decades. I've also, for over 20 years, been an expert witness in court and an arbitration expert. And so I've learned a lot of things. And another presentation I do that if you have a chance, you might not have done anything wrong, but you didn't do enough right.
Give us an example of that, because I love that presentation you have.
One of the things is the technician could have done a proper repair, but they may not have post-repair after mileage test drive. Or there may have been some pre-existing conditions with other leaks. There's so much that goes to it. And they didn't properly, hopefully they're using digital vehicle inspection photos. They didn't document that well, or they didn't document the repair order well. So we do a lot of training. We have 5 classes that are half-day classes just for doing a multi-point inspection, a digital vehicle inspection. And a lot of times that's looked as an entry-level class. I have 20 and 30-year techs that sit them that, oh my God, they pick up several golden nuggets from each class. And originally they said because they're really dedicated to their team. So they're sitting in the class because they want to know what their junior people are getting. And then they walk away with things. And there again, a lot of this I've learned in court. And one of the things on the documentation I've heard many, many judges say, when a shop had 3 or 4 people there and they all said, we told the customer XYZ. And the judge picks up the customer's invoice that the customer provided. And it says, I don't see this on the invoice. I see the amount you billed them
because that was important for you. If it was really important what you told me, it would have been on the invoice as well. And the judge asked the customer, do you remember hearing that? No. So where do you think that case went?
Yeah.
And being an expert, I know from reviewing the vehicle and what they did, they truly didn't do anything wrong. Most of the time, the not doing enough right is between the technician and the service writer documentation. The same thing with Brian, my brother Brian Honeycutt at ATI. He just talked about selling diagnostics, and he gets the shop owners into the importance and how to and sell that and do it right. I take that to the technical level with both the service advisors and the technicians and explain step by step on a level 1 diagnostic of setting every expectation. One of the things I frequently see so many diagnostics say, check engine light on, and then the next line for labor is diagnose cause or check and advise. That should absolutely never happen. You should clearly set those expectations for a level 1, and that would be a constant always that the customer can tell you exactly how to duplicate it or does it all the time. And we go through a minimum of 5 different levels in setting expectations. So it's got to be, everything we do should be, if we teach at ATI, and we believe in one of our fundamentals.
I swear to you, this is not a commercial for ATI. This should be everybody. So anybody, if you're listening, right, you need to be getting training for your people. You need to make sure that you're training your technicians. And I'm not talking about once a year, something on the scanner that your local parts house puts out, but you have to get them real training, leadership training on what's going on with the laws, OSHA. There's so many things out there that we really harm ourselves because we don't pay attention to it. I had someone tell me the other day that in their state, I won't even mention what state, but we were speaking about OSHA, and they said, no, we don't have that in our state. And I won't say what state. I said, every state has OSHA requirements. It's federal. No, we don't have OSHA here. Yeah, yes, you have OSHA here. And so there's so many things, and you can really open yourself up for lawsuits and just besides the lawsuits. I mean, somebody can really get hurt with different things, whether it's your customer, your internal, external, that can really get hurt if you're not properly doing it. So get some good training for your technicians, whether it's with us or anybody else. It's so important. And stop hanging your people out to dry. Don't make somebody a trainer or a mentor or a supervisor, whatever, without getting them the proper training. Train the trainer. And that goes for all of you as well. You have to invest in true leadership training for yourself and with intent. Listening to 20 books when you're driving to work is not leadership training. They're great. I want you to keep reading the books, but that doesn't make you a trained leader, a trained trainer, and all of that, right, Jim? I mean, they just have to.
Well, everything has to be good for the customer, for your team, your technician, your advisor, and the shop at the same time. It's got to be fair and good for everybody.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned the OSHA. There's some people didn't realize, and just to clarify, there's a difference between being OSHA certified and OSHA trained. Certain industrial shipyards and things like that and construction have to have 30 hours OSHA certification. Whereas every business, not just automotive, but every business, the employer is required to train their employees on hazards associated with job. So even if you're doing a call center when you're not working on cars and you have computers and there's carpal tunnel or your CRT with your eye, or you're picking up cases of paper and you're lifting, there's hazards everywhere. The employers are required to train. And
I'm not laughing at you. In my head, I'm thinking of those dreaded car warranty expiration call center people. And what kind of training can you just, that somebody's going to threaten you or run you off the road if they ever see you because they called you 500 times. But I'm sorry, in my head, just when you said call center, I'm like, your car expiration. I love when they call me from a car 15 years ago.
Well, and part of the training, though, it needs to be, and like I said, in addition to technical, the leadership, employee engagement, also we want laws. And people laws, I'm not a legal expert, but here's what I have found, that
You
Every
better
state-
become
every-
one or hire somebody that
there,
will.
there are certain federal laws like TPMS, the converters, and other laws. There's also majority of the states have a lot of laws. Like, I'll give you an example. Many states require you to offer to return customer their parts because they're their original parts. And there's a lot of variety of laws like that. Also have to clarify when you sell the part, is it new, used, line LKQ, salvage. And one of the best sources I'll share with everybody they should go to is the Motorist Assurance Program, motorist.org, which is also is the part that's open to the public, which gives a lot of standards of how we should communicate. They use Uniform Inspection Communication Standards, and that has a lot of the guidance, if you're following the Motorist Assurance Program standards, that many of the states require. And even if they don't, it's a best practice. And the professional shop side, should you want to join, is they call it AMRA, Automotive Maintenance Repair Association, AMRA.org. That's where there's the Uniform Inspection Communication Standards for like over 4,000 parts. There's like a couple pages just what can go wrong on a tire.
And that's AMRA.org.
Yeah,
I'll put the links in the
Automotive
posting.
Maintenance Repair Association.
Okay.
So those are, there are just so many different things where we train on, and we should be training to keep our shops out of trouble. And like, for example, in Virginia, they call it the Automobile Repair Facilities Act, and most states have laws like that. I've seen some incredible, honest, ethical shops with hardworking people that have been in business for decades that weren't aware of that law that started in 1979. And there's things that they, like, there again, you might not have done anything wrong, but didn't do enough right. To where if you weren't complying with everything that law said and you didn't have certain things posted, then technically you could be violating your customer's rights. You could get in trouble when you're there to try to
help them.
To help them. Yeah. So but we try to, at least with the program that everybody should be all encompassing, where you're training the owner. So he goes and supports the service writer, supports the technician. You're training on leadership, employee engagement, what your laws require, best practices. That way you stay out of trouble. You do a better job identifying pre-existing conditions. Because when you do that well, that will reduce your liability, increase your opportunity. And that is, like we said earlier, that's good for the customer, good for the shop, good for the team.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know you're super busy, so I figured I'd yank you in here before you got into anything else. So any closing remarks or